real privilege to introduce our speaker today because all of us in this room who have participated in, let's say, supposedly two-party politics in Illinois have known that at times, let's just say, the Republican Party has needed to move its game up a few notches, okay? I think that's fair to say, and we say that with robust appreciation for all sacrifices and contributions made down through the years. And we really have someone today who is uniquely positioned to get that program underway. He has a background in law enforcement. He was an assistant United States attorney. He was an assistant Cook County state's attorney, so he knows how things work in the big city and indeed across the entire state. And he has also labored in the vineyards. 10 years of working with various candidates, most prominently ending up as a member of the National Finance Committee and really the de facto Illinois coordinator working with State Rep Jim Durkin here, who was the chairman of the campaign in Illinois for Senator John McCain. So last August, it's only about 5 or 6 weeks ago, Andy McKenna decided that his future would be in the gubernatorial primary, and the State Central Committee on Republican Day at the State Fair said, it's time for a new chairman. We need somebody to manifest that new blood and enthusiasm and energy for Illinois Republicanism. They gave us, and I give you now, Pat Brady.
Thanks. It's an honor to be here. I understand the crowd is Democrat. I was walking over here through the city, and I got pelted by one of those window washers, and I figured it was a Democrat taking a shot at me already. But it's truly an honor to be here. I know most of you don't know who I am. I've been coming to these events for 22 years, sitting in the back row, and I've always enjoyed them. It's a great forum. It's the premier public policy forum in Illinois, I think. 4 or 5 months ago, my friend Tom Rosser invited me to sit at the governor's table, which is as close as I ever thought I would get to the microphone. So it was quite an event. Most of the people look at me and they go, Brady. Which Brady? There's Bill Brady, who's running for governor. There's Dan Brady, my cousin, that's a state rep. There's Greg and Peter and Cindy and whatever. There's a lot of Bradys running around Illinois. And the other day I was talking to one of the staff attorneys, and she goes, which Brady are you? And I go, well, I'm Tom Brady's brother, the quarterback for the New England Patriots. She goes, no, you're way too old for that. So that didn't work. And then after I was elected national committeeman, summer before last, I had a reporter come up to me and look, and he goes, who are you? And that's the sanitized version of what he said to me. So before I go on, I want to give you a little history of who I am and where I come from. My rise to leadership in the Illinois Republican Party and within the Republican National Committee has been fast and, quite frankly, somewhat surprising. Although I never contemplated a leadership role in party politics, I have been active in supporting Republican candidates since 1970, when I first walked Precinct 27 in Bloomington, Illinois, my hometown. Now, since I'm in the company of Democrats, Bloomington should have some significance since Adlai Stevenson was from Bloomington. He's actually buried there, and his aunt lived 2 doors down from my house, and my dad's precinct was 27, which is where his aunt was. It was the largest Republican precinct in Bloomington. And to give you an example of the environment in which I was raised, Adlai Stevenson lost that precinct in 52 and 56. So it was definitely Republican land. In 1999, after continuing to work on a variety of races and fundraisers, State Representative Jim Durkin, who's sitting out here, called me at work one evening and asked me if I wanted to accompany him and this guy from Arizona that was running for president as they tried to fundraise in the city. I had met Senator McCain when I was a student at the University of Arizona in 1984, and I thought even back then he would be a good president. This began my 10-year effort on the McCain for President campaign. Being the smart guy that he is, Jim Durkin also enlisted the help of my wife, Julie, who's here today, to serve as the deputy co-chair of the campaign. It makes it good to have a good one. You know, the nice thing about Julie is if you meet me, they'll go, have you met Pat? And they go, yeah, he's an okay guy. Have you met his wife? Yeah, she's phenomenal. So it's, Julie's been a great ally in all this. You know, although we took a beating in the general election, which we expected in the last cycle, the good news is in the primary, Senator McCain won 98 of 102 counties, and we got all but 3 of our delegates elected. So we view it as a success. The McCain effort brought me to the position of National Committeeman for Illinois, which I was elected to 15 months ago. In that role, I was one of the first public supporters for another anti-establishment long shot, the current chairman, Michael Steele. Chairman Steele's a good man. Raised by a single mom who worked in a laundromat, whose son went on to be a Georgetown-educated lawyer and chairman of the Republican National Committee, and a daughter who's one of the most renowned pediatricians in the country. He also represents the growing appeal of our message in all communities of this state, of this great country, something that I think will be vital to our success in Illinois. Chairman Steele has done a tremendous job. In a media dominated by unapologetic presidential cheerleading, he has persuasively articulated our opposition to bigger government, more spending, higher taxes, and socialization of health care. The RNC has consistently outraised the Democratic National Committee since last spring. After his election in January, the chairman asked me to help him reshape the Republican National Committee's finances and the budget operations. And he also asked me to chair the RNC Ethics Committee. But then it happened. I was on my way to the state fair. I was going to get an elephant ear, go on the tilt-a-whirl, maybe sneak a couple beers and see the butter cow. On Republican Day at the Illinois State Fair, upon Andy McKenna's resignation, the State Central Committee elected me state chairman. This proves the Chicago axiom, never attend a meeting unless you know what the outcome will be. Shortly after becoming chairman, I had the opportunity to meet with Senator McCain, and we were staying in a group, and I go, hey, Senator, I'm chairman of the Illinois Republican Party now, and he gave me that look he does, and he grabbed me and he pulled me aside, and he said, Pat, your reward will come in heaven. I said, Senator, I'm not sure if that's where I'm going, so I better get something done while I'm here. In all seriousness, I think it's important that I make perfectly clear that as the new chairman of the Illinois Republican Party, my allegiance is to the fundamental principles of the Republican Party and not to any individual or group. I did not get this position because of someone's agenda. I'm not part of a chummy club. I receive no financial benefit from this position. I do not lobby. I do not have commercial zoning or property tax appeal clients. Simply put, I'm not beholden to anyone except the Republican Party, and I will act in the common interests of all Republicans in the state of Illinois. This Thank you. This, I believe, is the proper role of the state party chair, and it is how I will run the Illinois Republican Party. I also believe it is imperative that we succeed. Illinois needs a strong voice in opposition to hold the Democrats accountable and break their single-party stranglehold on Illinois. The citizens of Illinois cannot afford to have the Illinois Republican Party to be missing in action. Almost 7 years ago, Illinois voters entrusted the Democrat Party with virtually uncontested control of the affairs of our state. Since then, we have endured the indictment and impeachment of the Democrat governor and his campaign operation for, among other things, attempting to sell a United States Senate seat and extorting a children's hospital for campaign contributions. 2 of our Democrat members of Congress are under investigation by the House Ethics Committee. 1 is also under investigation by the United States Department of Justice. Both rank in the top 15 most corrupt members of Congress, according to the D.C. Ethics Watch. The Democrat Cook County Board president is under investigation for abuse of his position. A Democrat member of the Illinois House is under investigation for trading campaign support for favorable property tax rulings. And all this has been on top of the constant subpoena, indictment, conviction story we get from City Hall. This pattern of corruption is not a fluke. It's not just a coincidence. No, it's not just a failure of Rod Blagojevich either. It's a failure of the Illinois Democratic Party to honor the trust bestowed upon them by the people of Illinois. And corruption's just half the story. Under single-party Democrat rule, Illinois ranks at the bottom of virtually every category used to measure performance. We have one of the highest deficits of any state. We have one of the most oppressive tax structures. Our bond rating dropped this year. Cook County has the highest sales tax in the country. We rank at the bottom in education. Our treasurer, a Democrat and former banker who thinks he should be a U.S. senator, allowed the savings of Illinois families for their kids' education to be placed in risky derivatives that lost $85 million. The Democrat majority created an abysmal environment for jobs and investment. In fact, it repels new jobs and sends existing jobs away. We ranked 46th in the country as a place to do business. The Chicago Tribune said, "The inconvenient fact here is that Illinois is tanking as a state in which employers want to do business." And we have the unemployment rate to show for it, one of the highest in the nation at 10.4%. We rank 46th in job creation. We have not created new net jobs since 1997. Over the last 7 years, the Democrats have imposed more than 300 different business and professional fees and eliminated a substantial number of tax incentives. And their newest idea to make everything better? Raise our taxes. Why do business here, put up with the corruption, and be treated as the enemy when you can go to Indiana and be welcomed? More and more Illinois employers are answering that question with their feet. Single-party rule has turned Illinois into an internal struggle for power and control of the process. The insiders come first. The interests of the citizens don't count. This became apparent in the Democrats' unilateral decision last winter to deny Illinoisans our right to a special election for the Obama Senate seat against overwhelming public support. Remember, Rod Blagojevich made that appointment after his arrest in December. But this litany of abuse, incompetence, and failure only begs the more important question. What will the Republicans and the Republican Party do differently? What will we do to appeal to all of Illinois, from the south side to Cairo, from the west side to Quincy, and from the north side to Galena? First, Republicans will end the culture of corruption in Illinois. We have learned the lessons of George Ryan. Republicans will lead the effort to get Illinois' house in order and run a transparent government that serves the people and not the other way around. This will require our candidates to advocate for real reform, not the watered-down version that the Democrat leadership tried to slide by last summer. The obvious starting point for reform is with campaign contribution limits. Illinois is one of only 4 states with no limits on personal or corporate contributions to political candidates. To illustrate the point, let me give you a passage from the Blagojevich indictment. Our governor and others caused government actions, including appointments to boards and commission, the awarding of state business grants and investment fund allocations, the enactment of legislation and executive orders, and the appointment of the United States Senator in exchange for financial benefits for themselves and others, including campaign contributions for Rod Blagojevich. The Blagojevich for Governor Committee raised $58 million in 6 years, including 435 donations of $25,000 or more. By comparison, Governor Edgar in 8 years only had 8 such donors. Absent the pay-for-play culture of corruption, I am guessing if we could resurrect Abraham Lincoln and run him for governor, he would not attract this level of financial support. There's too much money washing around in Illinois politics. All Illinoisans need to know that with the Republicans, they will get real reform of the system. Second, Republicans will enact a pro-job economic growth agenda to attract businesses. We have substantial advantages in geography, transportation, technology, higher education, medical care, agriculture, and access to capital. However, we are a corruption, regulatory, political, tax, and fee disaster. As all of our highly qualified candidates for governor emphasize, Illinois must rightfully be a destination economy for businesses. Let's stop here for a second. Kirk Dillard, who's here today, is the one that says that all the time. So as much as I want to be a party chair and give all our candidates credit for that, that's Kirk Dillard's line, and I think it's a great one. Third, Republicans will clean up the Democrat budget mess. Democrats gave us an $11 billion budget deficit. Now they want to give us the biggest tax hike in history to pay for it. We say no thanks. Hand in hand with a pro-job growth agenda, Republicans will advocate fiscal restraint. Spending money that we do not have or spending good money after bad has never been an effective strategy for any enterprise, government or otherwise. So we know tough decisions on spending will have to be made. Ending the culture of corruption, creating a pro-jobs Illinois economy, and cleaning up the Democrat budget mess are our top priorities. But Illinois faces numerous other issues that must be resolved. Here's how the Republicans will approach them. We Republicans at our core believe in empowering individuals and not the state. We believe that the proper role of government is to create opportunity, not dependency. We believe free people in a free market find superior solutions to that of government-imposed, one-size-fits-all programs. Simply put, we put our faith in the people, not on the bureaucrats, and certainly not on the party bosses. However, as deeply as we hold and know these beliefs, we also know that Republicans will not return to majority status until we improve our state party. We are following states that have retooled. With advice from national leadership and input from local Republicans, we are implementing the components of an effective organization. First, we have stepped up candidate recruitment. At the constitutional office level, we will field the most diverse ticket in our history. Robert Enriquez, an Honduran-born former Marine intelligence officer, a businessman and activist, will be our Secretary of State nominee. Steve Kim, a first-generation Korean American, will be our Attorney General nominee. Steve is a practicing attorney and a former aide to Governor Edgar. Their personal stories and our platform of ending corruption, building jobs, and cleaning up the Democrat budget mess will greatly appeal to the many Hispanic and Asian Americans and all Illinoisans who run small businesses and hope to succeed. They know in every zip code of this state, with the cycle of corruption, waste, deficits, and more taxes, all of us lose. We have spirited primaries and becoming more crowded for governor, lieutenant governor, controller, and treasurer. I am very proud of all our statewide candidates and see each as a vast improvement over their Democrat counterparts. Tom Cross and our House Committee have recruited our strongest field in years for 17 contested races. It is a team of able and diverse individuals with varied backgrounds and impressive credentials. Representative of that group is Hamilton Chang in the 17th District. That's Beth Colson's seat in the Western New Trier and Northfield townships. Hamilton's parents came from Taiwan on a freighter. Their first-generation American son is a graduate of the University of Michigan and has an MBA from the University of Chicago. Hamilton and his family are an American and Republican success story. They represent the strength of our ideals, our beliefs, our policies, and our recruitment efforts. We proudly welcome Hamilton to his role as a candidate. Senator Chris Radonio has had equal success in her contested seats. Former State Senator Steve Rauschenberger is one of our candidates. Steve is one of the few people in Illinois who knows precisely how bad the Democrat budget mess really is. He is recognized by all as a budget expert. Next year, when our Democrat friends try their hardest to confuse us about their record of spending abuse and tax hike intentions, Steve will be there to tell the truth. As sad as it may be, my hat's off to Steve and Chris. Secondly, we are constructing a get-out-the-vote infrastructure. For the first time in 25 years, we're putting together a statewide ground game. Because we see pickups for the U.S. Senate seat and perhaps 2 seats in the House, national party organizations will pour substantial resources into Illinois. So we plan between 15 and 20 fully staffed victory centers for the general election, many of which will be in Chicago, suburban Cook, and the Collar counties. For perspective, most we've had in recent years is 3. The victory centers will provide robust and technologically savvy voter identification, voter contact programs, get-out-the-vote programs, and a structured approach to early and absentee voting. Third, we must have funding. We need investment, just like the state. This requires a proven and professional approach to fundraising at all levels, which is already showing promising early results. Finally, and as important as anything else I mentioned today, within our party, we respect and value differing opinions and ideas. We are not a clone of the Democrats who punish ideological deviation. Instead, our respectful tone is set by the party chairman. We need to hold our candidates accountable to our core principles and value differences. This strengthens us, it unifies us, it guides all of us to victory in November after family disputes in our primary. Chief Justice John Roberts noted at the time of his nomination, reasonable people can disagree. That is true in all of life and in all of politics. In fact, it's what makes politics go. So I, as chairman, say and will say, we are big enough to welcome many ideas. They make us stronger. Voice your ideas in the primary the best you can, then, win or lose, reconcile and unite with all Republicans, and go on to contest the general. That's how we'll win. Illinois Republicanism is the only political party in the world that can trace its origins to Abraham Lincoln. To chair a party with that history is a lesson in humility. As the Democrats of his day defied him and his ideas, so do their heirs today defy us and the people of Illinois. They stand for a closed system. Government of, by, and for the insiders, except when it comes to sticking the rest of this with their tab. It cannot go on. The people of Illinois know it, and we have to have the guts to say it. And we have to have the guts to recruit the candidates who will end it. So I consider it a privilege, unexpected though it was, to stand before the City Club of Chicago and declare that the strangling of our jobs, the corruption of our trusts, and the spending of our future will cease. They will cease when the people of this great state, Republicans, Democrats, and Independents, in every neighborhood, of every background, rise up and know they now have a real choice. They will vote for a new day in Illinois, led by the Illinois Republicans. Thank you very much.
Okay, folks, we have questions. We have our staff members circulating around to pick up your questions. We'll try to answer as many of them as possible in the time that we have for us. Thank you, Miles Berger, one of our keen legal minds. Thank you, Tweed. Okay. Are we ready, Mr. Chairman?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm never ready. I just get put into it.
We may have some questions here that are just as slippery as that buttered cow. Okay. First question is from Bernard Edelman of Edelman and Partners, member of the City Club. Mr. Brady, isn't your job as chair to be strategic and to pare down the number of candidates for governor and see that precious financial resources are not squandered?
No, that's not my job. We welcome a lot of people in the primary. We think that's important to the process. That keeps the base happy. That keeps everybody happy. And I think what we're seeing more importantly in this race, and I assume the question's about the governor's race, is if you look at what our candidates are discussing, they're talking about ending corruption, fiscal responsibility, cutting taxes, how are we going to clean up the mess. And on the other side, all within kind of a narrow bandwidth, so there's not a lot of disagreement there. There's no big, huge ideological split. But if you look at what the Democrats are talking about, they're talking about how and when they're going to raise your taxes. So I enjoy the debate on our side all the way down the ticket.
Thank you. This is from Don McNeil. Not the Breakfast Club, but the Lunch Club, Don McNeil. What is the Republican Party doing to recruit candidates for competitive districts where the last elections were won or lost by less than 750 votes?
That's a good question. And a lot of the recruiting is coming through the House and the Senate. I know that Chris Rodonia, her goal is to have every race filled with a Republican. I think at least in the House, all the seats are going to be filled. Lee Rupus is here, the Cook County chairman. They have a full slate, and I think they're going to try to get, as many as possible filled. So, certainly we're trying to fill every spot, not just the 750 or below because, you can't win if you're not on the ballot.
Okay, thank you. This is from City Club member Jerry Lathero. Hope I pronounced it, didn't butcher your name too much. If so, I apologize. Mr. Brady, how do you think the budget mess should be addressed? What specific steps, layoffs, tax increase, etc.?
Probably first and foremost, vote Republican. I'm party chair. My job's to get Republicans elected. I have my theories on the budget, and I could give them to you, but that's up to people like Jim Durkin, Tom Cross, Chris Redonio. I think first and foremost, from a policy matter, we need to focus on cutting spending and however they want to do it. I think there are a lot of ideas out there, but I think the two things that they all talk about we need to focus upon, I'm sorry, Dan Cronin too, are the, which we've seen the Sun Times series on the pension mess and on health care, how it's administered. Those are the two things we need to focus upon. I think one of our candidates, actually, Adam Andrzejewski, also has a good idea that I believe would be something we should think about, is doing a forensic audit of the entire, how the entire government, see how it works, go line by line. It's never been done. If you look at what Mitch Daniels did in Indiana, he did that. He put a task force together to focus on, the local units of government, and it worked. But whatever we're doing, we got to do it differently because what the Democrats have done is not working.
Thank you. This is from City Club Board of Governors member and former Republican committeeman of Evanston Township, Frank Paul. How many candidates for governor would you like to have in the Republican primary? And how many do you think there will still be running come February of 2010? Your crystal ball.
By then, we'll have one. By February 2000. No, really, the primary, and I get this constantly, doesn't bother me at all. It doesn't bother me as the party chair at all. This is a great debate. We have good, strong candidates. They're going to talk about good issues that are important to the voters. So, that being said, too, let's be realistic. I may take a little different approach. If this starts getting out of control and we start getting nasty in January, I'm going to exert some discipline in this process. We're not going to have people chew each other up. However I can do it, and I've got a couple ways I won't talk about now, but we're not going to be the party where we let everybody get chewed up like has happened in the past. Part of being, I think, a strong party chairman is invoking some discipline for the better good of the party. So we'll wait and see. Right now, everybody's been very good, very professional. These are all good people. I know all of them. Some I've known my entire life. They're all good public servants, and I think they're going to behave accordingly, but we'll wait and see what happens in January.
Okay, so be forewarned. He said, he won't get mad, but he could get even. This is from John Tillman from the Illinois Policy Institute. John, where are you? Right over there. Man, must have a marketing background. In 4 years' time, how will the Republican brand be defined in Illinois?
The Republican brand in Illinois in 4 years is going to be defined as honesty, competence, fiscal restraint, and good government. If that's our brand in 4 years, we'll never be minority status again.
Okay, thank you. Moving from the state level to really the local level, and specifically this county, Cook County. The questioner is Tom Bookie. Tom, where are you? Okay. Sitting right next to the Illinois Policy Institute. Very great. Okay. Does the GOP have a viable candidate for Cook County Board President, and what makes that person a viable candidate?
Yes, we have a very viable candidate for Cook County Board President. He's former State Senator Roger Keats. Some of you may know him. And I'll tell you why. A lot of people don't know this, but Roger, in his term, I think he was 3 or 4 terms in the Senate, was known truly as a reformer. In fact, because of his reformer credentials and the work he had done in the Senate, he was honored last February at Black History Month. Roger Keats is the definition of a reformer. Roger's a smart guy. He's a very successful businessman, self-made man. He has legislative experience, a very good campaigner, very articulate, Roger, I hope that Roger gets an opportunity to debate whomever the Democrats end up with, because he's one of the most impressive candidates we have in all this field of candidates we're going to have in the next cycle.
Well, thank you. I'm glad that the party has faith in my former state senator. Good. Still have red hair?
Huh?
Does he still have red hair?
What's left of it?
I know. And I'm sure that
He's a
Chris...
former tank guy, though.
Chris Roebling and Jay will see that when we have our Cook County Board President debate, we will have Mr. Keats here and whomever his opponent is. So we can book that. Okay. This is from John Kosielko, member of the City Club. John, where are you at? Okay. Back there, he's a backbencher. When scandal strikes a Republican administration, Republican voters, many Republican voters, walk away from the party. Democratic voters, especially in Cook County, are far more forgiving of their office holders. How can the GOP address this in 2010? Thank you, John.
You know, I'm not sure if I necessarily agree. There might be more historical perspective as to why the Democrats stick with the party. Historically, it might just be a jobs thing. Republicans, we get killed by our base if we're not seen as honest. So I think if that's first and foremost, you know, the mantle that we have to carry. I don't know why they vote like they do, but I'll tell you what, party ID in both parties is way down. I think it's 23 or 24% for the Republicans, not too much better for the Democrats. So we're fighting for the independents. And the independent vote, I know a couple things about the independent vote, at least I think I do. They don't like fighting. They want competent government, and they do not like corruption. So both parties, I think, need to address that if we're going to attract that, 48 to 50% in the independent, particularly the suburban independents.
Okay, we just have a few more questions. This is from Carol Brown, former chair of the CTA. She tells us her new affiliation, Siebert, Branford, and Schenck. So that's a little free commercial, Carol, but you deserve it. What is the percentage breakdown of Republicans versus Democrats who are registered in Cook County?
For a lawyer, you're never going to hear this. I don't know. Lee, what's the breakdown? Democrat, Republican registered voter breakdown. Do you know? 4 or 5 to 1? Okay. I'll get back to you. Sorry about that.
It's about 4 or 5 to 1. He said, okay, good. And we have two last questions. One, that Precinct 27 that you talked about in Bloomington, I assume that you worked that for the great Senator Jack Maitland?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. I appreciate that, good friend. And my very last question that someone submitted was, historically in Republican primaries, the so-called conservatives come out and drown the moderate and other vote. What plans do you have to try to prevent this from happening in the coming primary elections?
I think I'm a fortunate beneficiary of circumstances. I think both the conservatives and the less so conservatives of our party are fed up with being in the minority and fed up with being, run around. So I don't see that split that we may have seen in past years. I think that's most evident by our governor candidates. There's no big split there. It's not like years past where one or two people from either side were dropping bombs on each other. So I think this year, more than any year that I've seen, the Republican Party is very unified. When you focus on these financial issues that we need to focus on and corruption, those are uniters for Republican voters. So I think we're going to have a very united party coming into the general.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Brady. Let's give him a big round of applause, please. And before we leave, we have a few items for you. Most important is a complimentary one-year membership in our city club. After that, we expect you to be a member of the President's Circle, so
Which I am.
save your money, which you are already. The city club centennial history. And when you're sitting there plotting how the Republicans will win this February, use your city club mug to fill with whatever liquid you choose to.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay, we'd like to thank everybody for coming. Jay, do you have anything you wish to? Okay. Have a great day, and we'll see you at one of our future programs. Take care.